Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Down Over. We are here with Jason Lanier today, and this is our pre-show show. So we're going to be starting any moment now. We're just going through our shots real quickly. There is Jeff, there is Jason, and that's Jeff and Jason, and that's Jason and myself.
Hi.
What happened? And which one? Oh, okay. He's going to make you a little bit bigger on this shot while we're...
that's better.
Shots.
That's good.
That's better.
There we go.
Yeah.
That looks good. You good? Okay, that's one shot, and that's the 3 shot. And by the way, Jason, this is what we're looking at as we do our switching. We're using vMix to do all the switching, and this is our back shot.
Very nice.
So that's what we're seeing right now. We've got one camera. I've got a Canon XA25 in front of me. Then on the right, we've got the TV you're looking at. That's going to change real soon. We've got that new NDI, the network device interface, but we have to get some new devices to make it work well. And then I've got another monitor just in front over here. So that's and then over here, I don't know if you can see this. This is all the audio tower. So we got the compressors, limiters, gates. Everybody's on one.
Nice. Those are some sexy shoes.
Yeah.
I'll just apologise before the start, Jason. Sometimes I talk over people because by the time I start, you don't hear me. So then people's already started talking. Because it's about a 5-second delay, or 3-second or 5-second delay from this end.
7,000 miles away and a lot of kangaroo jumps. So he's far. But usually it's okay. Just sometimes we have a small issue. I think we're doing okay right now. So anyway, so we can start the show on... We'll start on this shot, and then we will start the recording. Everyone ready?
I'm a bit big there. You're a little...
What's going on?
No, but Rick said, I'm big and you're small, Rick.
It keeps changing. I don't know.
That's okay. That's better. Yeah, better.
Okay. So then we're there. So are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to start the show recording in 3, 2, and 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Down Over. This is Friday the 26th. And I don't even know what show number this is. I keep losing track.
It's 27th.
No. Is it 27th today? Oh, gosh.
Yep, well, it's 28th here today on Saturday, so it's 27 there.
Oh, you're a day ahead of us. I keep forgetting that. Hey, how's the stock market doing tomorrow?
Yes, very good. I can give you some share tips to do.
Great,
and it shows 74 as well, just in case.
We will announce our guest in a moment. Here we go. And we're back. Well, today we've got with us Jason Lanier. He's a very well-known photographer. He does video work. I don't know if you consider yourself a videographer, but I've seen your videos and they're all pretty good. So I'm assuming you're both. But he does very good photography. He's a Sony Ambassador. And no, that doesn't mean he makes any more money, but he's an ambassador, which is a nice title to have. And he's got some great opinions on being a photographer and what it takes to succeed. And we couldn't agree more with you. You always talk about practice makes perfect. I think you're totally right. Jason, how are you today?
Good. How are you gentlemen doing?
Oh, we are doing great. We're glad you could make it on. And there's a lot to talk about. You not that long ago, several years ago, you switched over to Sony. And that seemed to have created a firestorm of people irritated and this and that. And frankly, I didn't see anything unusual about what you did. People are always changing. I know a lot of photographers that just change from Canon to Nikon. Other ones go from Nikon to Canon, and so on. What made you go to Sony?
You know, it was interesting because I first started off with Nikon just back when I was a kid because my dad was an enthusiast and he shot Nikon. So I started professionally 9 years ago and shot Nikon for 7 years. My first body was professionally speaking, was the D2XS. Then I went to the D3 and the D700, D800, and I loved them. I loved all of the cameras. And then 2 years ago, July, it'll be 2 years next month, but I picked up an A6000 and started shooting with it. And we spoke about this in a little pre-show prep, but I go into a lot of urban exploration places. I go to third world countries a lot, and it can be kind of dicey getting gear in. You want a lower footprint, a smaller footprint, and sometimes getting through customs in foreign countries is tough if you have a lot of gear. So I picked up the A6000, started tooling around with it. I was shocked at how well it did. I went to Detroit and Ethiopia and all these places within a couple weeks after purchasing it. And I took all my Nikon gear with me. I just didn't take the A6000. Then after those trips, I found myself just using the Sony, and so then I bought the A7S. And once I bought the A7S, it was kind of a slippery slope. And within 3-4 months, I shot July, August, September, Sony, and I always had my Nikon gear with me. And then in October, I was in an urban exploration venture up in Idaho in an old abandoned mill or mine. And I recorded the 10 Reasons video. And I'll be candid with you, I never expected that video to go viral or be big. I recorded that video just because I was posting pictures to the internet or to my fans, just shooting with the Sony, and they kept asking me why, because I was such a Nikon guy. You got to understand that. So then I made that video, and the rest is history. So I switched to Sony because of I think that they were more up to speed on technology. I didn't like how the big two would hold back what I felt like they were holding back.
Right.
And I felt that like they were lagging. We would finally get, the most frustrating thing about some of those other cameras is you would get a body, and then it would have technology that had already been introduced a year ago by someone else, and then you'd realize that body's not going to get updated for another 3 years. Yeah. So that sucks. So that's why I switched.
I totally understand, because I keep switching between everything. So I have a little bit of everything right now, and I am just so confused sometimes.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, I don't have any Sony right now, and both Jeff and I have been thinking about, we probably need some Sony gear. I did actually go recently more into the Nikon lenses and cameras. Well, actually, not Nikon lenses, but cameras. And recently, I just got the D500. And I'm returning it today. I was actually pretty underwhelmed by it.
Really?
It's okay, but my lenses don't work well on it. It's basically a 3 times crop factor by the time. It's 1.5 crop for the APS-C sensor, and another 1.5 for 4K video. So I went shooting last night to test it out. And my 35 millimeter now is about an 80 millimeter, and I'm going, holy smoke, everything's so close. So that really puts you pretty far away from things you're doing. And it also had trouble on my Tamron 35 millimeter focusing well. It was okay. It was not great, and it was slow. At night, it is not a fast camera. At least I didn't think so. I was pretty underwhelmed. I've got the Panasonic mirrorless, a couple of those, the GH4, the GX8. They're instant, night or day. On the Nikon D750, it seemed faster. My Canon 80D and 7D Mark II seemed faster. I was going, what's going on with this? The touchscreen only works in a couple places, so it's not really that terribly useful. It's okay. It shoots fast. That's nice. It wasn't all as in focus as I thought it would be. It was okay. And it doesn't use every memory card you have. In my case, I was lucky. The Transcends worked, and I had Lexar XQDs. They worked. I wasn't impressed. It's a nice camera, but $2,000 for that? I wasn't really that impressed with it. There were too many little issues. And a $450 battery grip?
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling.
Jason, I saw you had with the A7R Mark II. You did a video on the beach in Hawaii, on the Black Beach, and you did some 4K video. That was on the A7R Mark II, wasn't it?
Correct.
And that was just stunning, I thought. And I'm in the market thinking, which one should I go, the A7R Mark II or the A7S? And I like video, but I want the stills better. But that was just really excellent video quality as well. What did you think about that?
Yeah, the funniest thing to me about the Sonys is there's no neutral ground. People either love it or hate it. And I find that when I release a video, there'll be so much light. There'll be a lot of likes, but there'll be a little bit of just people can't stand it. And what drives me nuts is what he was mentioning about the 3 times crop factor for 4K video. When these little cameras are popping out 4K video with no pixel binning. Some of the cameras are recording at 6K and then downsampling to 4K, and the quality is stunning. And you're getting full frame. You're getting every bit of your focal length, and it's amazing. I absolutely love it. And a lot of times I record these videos because I'm trying to show why I'm using the cameras, because people have so many questions. And I think, if you're going for an all-around camera, I did a video, the 10 reasons why I think the A7R2 is the best camera in the world. That got a lot of controversy as well. But I think it's a great camera. It records up to 30 minutes nonstop. And the 4K footage on it is stunning. It really is.
And you know what's interesting? That Nikon D500 records 30 minutes. Not quite. It records 3 minutes 10 times.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. And if you're,
it's ridiculous. It's
and
embarrassing.
Something. It's stupid. Actually, I just sit there going, okay, come on. These vendors are just getting ridiculous. There's no reason to do that when Panasonic, when Sony, when they're all doing it correctly. No, they've got to do it 10 3-minute clips. And what's even weirder, you wind up with more clips, because if you record something, I was testing this yesterday, I recorded about a minute and a half, then I stopped, and I started recording like a 2-minute clip, and it cut it at another minute and a half, so it had a 3-minute recording from a previous one. I go, it's adding them together? So now I have this
Are you
broken
serious?
clip. Yeah, that's what it did. It was weird.
I didn't even know that is really weird.
I was going, this is okay. And at that point, I went home. I put it in its box. I said goodbye. It's nice knowing
It's
you.
going back.
You're going back.
Well, what's weird to me is, like I said, when I started shooting it, people say, oh, the Sony overheats or it does this. And then when the Nikons came out and they're recording in 3-minute segments, everyone would say, well, the 3 minutes is all you need. And I was like, you can't have it both ways, guys.
Yeah.
And the 3 minutes it's unused. I really think, that's kind of what I'm hitting on as to why I switched. It's almost like they put 4K on there just so they could say the camera had 4K, because it's not really usable for any type of videography purpose.
No, and to have to do the extra post of having to make everything basically get together again. Now you're breaking up clips that are broken up, which is just a waste of time. Even the 30-minute limit is sort of...
When people get into these discussions too, you can tell they really don't understand the video editing part of it, because I edit all of my videos.
Yep.
So putting together 10 3-minute clips, that really sucks.
It does. And then if you've got cuts in between them and it's cutting them more, not good.
No, it's not.
But what I don't understand with a lot of people is, as I said, with the restrictions on video, is if I want to do something a long time, I get a video camera. I've got a few video cameras, and there's some great, excellent cameras out there to do that job.
That's true, but your video cameras don't have the lenses like we have.
Yep.
No, that's right. But as I said, if you need that one for that longer thing, there's other options as well. But I did love the quality of the Sony, because of the depth of field you get on that in the video. It's just excellent.
Yeah, that Black Sand Beach, and thank you, that's very kind of you to say. That Black Sand Beach, I was shooting with some Zeiss lenses, and it is stunning when that you can watch it for yourself.
Yeah, they are... Go ahead, Jeff.
So I was going to say yes, and what really impressed me was it was the A7R Mark II, and I was still undecided whether I get the video one or just the photo one, the 42 megapixel. But I thought there's no restriction on that for the quality of video, so and that's got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, unless you have a need to shoot in very low light situations, which you would choose the A7S II, then I would choose the A7R II. I mean, if I could take one camera anywhere in the world, it would be the A7R II, hands down.
I did see your low light one on the A7S, and I had to look at it twice. I didn't believe it at first. I thought he's spliced daylight into nighttime and then gone back, but I didn't believe it. And then I thought, no, that's the same people.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't see a lot of noise in there either.
No, well, that's the other thing is, these camera manufacturers just try to trick people with their expanded ISO, which are pointless.
Right.
And it's all about native. And when you look, you're talking about the one we did, the Cary Furnace, that old abandoned steel mill.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty cool. That was freaky. That was a fun shoot. So that's why we record. That's why at the end of the video, we directly went into some behind the scenes stuff so people could see that we weren't up to any hocus pocus.
Yeah, in fact, it's sort of interesting that Nikon D500 has extended 1.6 million ISO.
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, what are you trying to light up? I mean, at that point, it's almost ridiculous. I also noticed that it's really noisy. I got up to, even at 3200, I was getting a little bit of noise. At 6400, it was getting grainy. It didn't look bad, but it was grainy. And I thought, gee, I'm not even getting that on some of my other cameras. I was going, that's a little sensitive. The color looked good, but yeah. It's, of course, I'm also the guy who returned the Canon C100 Mark II in December. I didn't like it. Not because it wasn't good, because the workflow on that is you have no choice but to grade everything 100%.
Really?
I don't have time for that. And I didn't realize that at first. I thought they had other picture profiles. No, it's strictly flat. It goes from flat to flatter. And it's nice, but, and again, it's not even 4K, so, decided.
Jason, I was happy to see your video that you just did in Whitby about photography. And it sort of inspired me a bit because I thought I was a bit strange that I only use Lightroom and don't really touch up my photos.
You mean you're actually a photographer?
Well, I don't claim to be, but I believe the same as you, is if you take a photo, you've got to get it pretty much right as you can. You maybe adjust the exposure or just the slight thing, but if you manipulate it, well, it's art rather than photography, I think. Or graphic design, as you said.
Just to chime in with Jeff, I totally agree. I don't particularly like Lightroom. I barely use it. And I let the pictures stand the way they are. They either are good or they're not. And I think a lot of it, you've said a lot of things I so agree with on using light, understanding how to shoot in manual, understanding what the combination of ISO, your shutter, and your aperture, and then it's fun. Now you have so much more to play with, rather than, well, I screwed it up, I'll fix it in Lightroom. Okay, maybe if you really screwed up and you have no choice, but why screw it up? And I know a lot of guys, they buy, what is it, 1DX, and they're spending $6,000 on a camera, and they have absolutely no eye to shoot anything.
Right.
And so you just wasted $6,000. One guy I knew, he had a $6,000 1DX. He didn't know what a shadow was. Everything had to be completely lit at all times. And I go, this doesn't look, he had a model, and she was just not one thing that was interesting about her. I go, it's flat. It's dead. There's no life to it. He got ticked. Sorry,
right.
But, now you had an encounter with Mr. Angry, the angry photographer.
Oh yeah, Mr. Ken Wheeler, yeah.
Ken Wheeler, yeah. I thought that was hilarious, and we're trying to get him on
the
the
angry
show.
YouTuber.
It'll be interesting. I didn't agree with what he said, and I agreed actually with what you said on that. And there were a lot of contradictions, and frankly, Nikon is not the end all of anything. And I don't know if he's a Nikon fanboy or just loves it. I think he does like his Nikons. But your rebuttal was actually quite good. I enjoyed it because.
Thank you.
And was there any take up of your challenge?
Of course not. No.
No. Okay. Because that would have been fun.
The internet is full of people who make claims. I think we live in a YouTube universe where anyone tries to be an expert. And you know what? I'll put it out there that I will welcome any challenge, any shoot by a viable source because I stand by my work. And it was very important to me that I knew my stuff before I started trying to teach other people. Because I didn't want to look like a fool. And the funniest thing is ever since Angry Photographer, got into it, now he's become a Fuji fanboy, so now he's jumped onto the mirrorless bandwagon.
Interesting. He's into Fuji now?
But I can't understand anyone who sits there and preaches about photography who doesn't have a portfolio and who doesn't you're actually a photographer. I mean, why do people listen to people who aren't working photographers is beyond me.
That's true. Now, the other thing is, you're totally right. We live in a world where somebody opens up a software package and says, I'm an expert.
Right.
You've opened it. Congratulations. Now learn it. And the same with the camera. Until you grab it, touch it, feel it, and shoot it. There's a trend that I see a lot on the internet, and to a point I think it affects all of us. People do reviews of cameras they've never actually opened, touched, or held, or even took a shot with because they're looking at specs, and that doesn't mean a thing.
My biggest thing that cracks me up is people who, I call it just pure clickbait. People who
clickbait.
I have a lot of followers, and if I wanted more and more views, I would do a review on the Nikon D500 or any of the other Nikons, the D810 or the Canons or the Fujis, any of them. And then, the biggest scam, the absolute biggest scam in photography, and if you guys didn't know this about me, I'm not politically correct. The biggest scam is all these people, they literally do a video and they read their followers a spec sheet. Like their followers are mentally ill and they cannot read a spec sheet for themselves. It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and I can't believe people get views doing that. What I do is very simple. I don't talk about gear unless I've used it. I don't badmouth gear, and I don't talk bad.
Right.
I don't talk about any gear. I don't do reviews. I don't read people's spec sheets. I don't do anything unless I've actually used it because I want my opinion to be valid. And it's that simple.
Yeah. I did one review of the Panasonic GX8, which is a pretty nice little mirrorless camera. But I made the mistake of actually bad-mouthing something Apple did, which is what Panasonic did. Apple, on the original iPhone, had a 3.5 millimeter jack, but it was more recessed than what the normal jack would go. So you had to buy a $20 adapter from Apple, of course, to make it fit. And they made probably $200 to $300 million on a lousy adapter because of lousy engineering. And then Panasonic on the GX8 creates a 2.5 millimeter jack. Why? Nobody uses 2.5 millimeter. And so you have to go find some stupid adapter for 10 or 20 bucks for no reason. So I criticized that, and oh man, did I get the dislikes. You can't talk about Apple, you asshole. Oh, jeez. It's like, grow up, man. Get a life. Go get some fresh air. You might actually enjoy life. Strange people.
It's very true. I don't understand. People get so obsessed over gear. Even I end every one of my videos and I tell people, find the right gear that works for you. I'm a Sony artisan of imagery. If you guys shoot Sony, great. If you don't, find the right gear that works for you. Right. It really is that simple for me. And I don't understand why people get their panties in a twist over this stuff. I really don't. It's just gear.
It's gear. And maybe tomorrow you won't be a Sony artisan. Maybe something else. I have a feeling you go for what works for you, and that to me makes all the sense in the world.
But Jason, I have a feeling with a lot of your photography that it doesn't matter what the cameras are. I just love the way you set scenes up. Like I was watching that Six Flags, where you went into Six Flags, and just some of the shots you got out of there, and even there was one when you went back at night with the lightning. And just some of the shots you walking towards the camera just came out really great.
Yeah, it's pretty spooky, huh? Yeah, we had to, that was quite an adventure, and I think that's what I'm preaching about, that Whippy video about the art of photography. It's not that I think that graphic design or composites are bad. I don't. But people don't understand, for the true photographers, the purists, those who love photography, and we take such pride in getting every single thing that we can in the camera. Mm-hmm. And when I'm going back and risking all sorts of stuff at night during a lightning storm, setting up a tripod during a lightning storm, which isn't too brilliant, and, you're in an abandoned park in a very bad neighborhood in New Orleans, and it's pouring rain, and you're there at midnight, and you're shooting, that you only do that if you love photography. You only do that if the passion for photography supersedes all of your other fear factors. So when I do that and then I see somebody just stitch together a composite and say it's the same thing, I'm sorry, it's not. I worked so much harder to get that shot, and I risk so much more, and I fly to places and do things, and it's incredibly different, and there's no other way to say it. And I appreciate you loving those shots. I mean, that first shoot was with a Nikon, so it has nothing to do with Sony. It's just, it's about loving what you do and putting your heart and soul into your work.
Yeah, yeah. And you've said in some of your videos in the past, and this is something a lot of people don't understand. If you want to be good at anything, practice, 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 and then stop practicing all over again. If you don't know your camera, or if you don't know whatever you're doing, you're not going to be good at it, no matter how good you are. And I also like the fact that you said you won't teach until you feel like you know something, because that's also another thing. How many people have gone to video and other training, and they don't get good training because the person doing the training has never done it? But they've read
it's ridiculous.
It is, and it happens all the time.
We live in an industry where people are literally, they pick up a camera in 6 months. They're teaching. It is so absurd.
I know.
I can't believe it.
I did video teaching for, what was it? It was for Antioch College one time, for the ASTD, or American Society for Training and Development. And I did 2 sessions, one year and one the next year. And I give out a lot of just practical information. Here's things to do. Be careful for this. Be careful how to work with your crew, how to direct yourself, how to do a quick video shoot when you don't have a lot of time, how to respect the client's time. Don't waste people's time. And a lot of times I would get the feedback saying, wow, I didn't know that, and I've been shooting for 10 years. I go, what have you been shooting? Well, just kind of on my own, every 3-4 months I'll take the camera up and shoot. When was the last time you actually did a shoot for work or something else? Oh, I've never done that. Well, that's probably why you don't know this, because you've never had the experience of getting out there. You got time limits, you've got tech limits, you've got whatever limit is imposed by a client or a situation, and you've got to think on your feet, you've got to have it done, and that's exactly what you preach. And I go, it's so nice to me, it's nice to hear that, to say, yes, that's exactly how you get good at something. You said you went on a lot of free shoots, you'll do just to learn. And that's what it takes.
I've done hundreds of free shoots. And to this day, when I pick up a new piece of gear, I don't know if you guys have been following my work, and it looks like you have, and I appreciate that. But just at WPPI 2 months ago, I picked up the eyeliner by Westcott, and they are not a sponsor. But I picked that up, and I immediately started scheduling model shoots just to go out and shoot.
Yeah.
And people, oh, you're a Sony artisan, or you're this or that. It's like, guys, you have to practice. I don't know what else to tell you. If you're not going to practice, you're not going to be very good, and that is the truth of any profession.
No, that's true. Something you don't hear too often nowadays.
And it's also the way you deal with your subject as well. I was watching your video of on the Los Angeles River, I think, with the motorbike and the model. And when she sat out, a nice-looking model, but the way you direct her to do that came out with some excellent shots from that.
Oh, thank you. That was my first shoot with the A7R2, and people say to me all the time, "You make it look easy." I teach workshops all over the world. I was just over in Scotland, and one of the people who attended said, she said it in a very loving way, but she said, her name's Perrin, but she said, you make me so cross when I watch you walk up, because I'll shoot one-handed, which people don't understand. But I'll just shoot one-handed with the live view and take a shot, and they'll say, I can't believe what shot results from that. And I tell them, you got to understand, that is years and years and years of practice. So when I get up there, like at the LA River in the motorcycle shoot, and I'm posing her, it's because I've messed up so many times that I know what works and what doesn't work. And if you haven't messed up, you're never going to know the keys or the recipe to success.
And, you bring up a really good point, that the one-handed shooting, that's the perfect example of, there's a shot, take it. You don't have time to sit, focus, just take it. And
just take it, baby.
Those are some of the best shots ever.
Yeah. I'm not disparaging those who do, but all I can tell you is when I've seen people, other professionals on Creative Live or wherever else, and they're setting up cameras on tripods and going out on location and shooting on a tripod, I'm like, I'd rather give up photography. I can't imagine the thought of being that tethered or not being able to move and just have a creative flow. So all the more power to those who do, but for me personally, when I'm shooting, it needs to just flow and be very organic.
So I noticed, Jason, that when you did your 10 reasons about the Sony, you was doing a workshop in Tasmania, and that was last year, was it?
Yeah, that was November last year.
Are you planning on any more trips over to Australia?
Yeah, I'm actually already have workshops scheduled for Sydney and Melbourne in November this year, and we're probably going to add more stops in Perth and Brisbane.
Jeff, Melbourne, get in on that.
Yes, Melbourne. Yes, I'll have to book myself in.
I might even go back down to Tassie again.
Because that's a beautiful place for scenery in that Tassie, isn't it?
See, now Jeff is what I call a natural photographer. He just has a real good eye, good tact, and he just gets in there and shoots. And he's one of those who goes out every weekend and shoots as much as he can, which is, it's fun. He's got a full-time job, so he's not doing this that much for money, but he just enjoys the gear greatly.
Well, if you're going to buy it, you've got to use it, haven't you?
Yep.
Otherwise, your partner will make you return it and not let you buy more stuff.
And
oh God,
what I find I like in America, though, Jason, you have a lot of abandoned places. They tend to just pull everything down here, so there's nothing abandoned to take photos in.
Yeah, I mean, I know Australia is obviously from a landmass standpoint is huge as well, but the United States is really big. There are many areas where you won't find that. It depends if it's more metropolitan, New York, LA. Those are really harder to find, but if you go to like Detroit or some of the outer line areas, you can find some amazing buildings. I will tell you, down in Tassie, there's some cool stuff down there. I went and shot some really cool stuff down in Tassie, so there is stuff down there. Yeah, when I was in Sydney's kind of like LA. It's like, or New York. It's trying to find an abandoned place that the property is so valuable, they just rip it down. But the funniest thing is people don't understand the allure or why we love the abandoned stuff. And to me, it's just amazing. I was in England 2 weeks ago, and we got busted again by the guy, and they called the cops and blah blah blah. But we have it all on video. But that was at a lunatic asylum where I belong. But there's just such a natural beauty about it, with the natural light pouring in through the windows, and you're chronicling a piece of history that's going to be lost and demolished. The land's going to be razed over, and it's going to be gone.
Now we have a little video. Now we have a little video that you recorded. Shall we play it real quick? Here we go.
From weddings to wildlife, Jason Lanier has made a name for himself as an award-winning, in-demand photographer.
Yeah, but now he has a new passion, capturing photos that are both beautiful and heartbreaking. Photojournalist Manuel Villela shows us the images Lanier hopes can inspire change.
Beautiful, I love it. I did photography just as a hobby since I've been a kid, and I learned to love it from my dad. With photography, you have the ability to leave something. There's a piece of you that comes out, and you're giving it to the world. And if they like it, great. If they don't, you can't control it. It's the best way that I've been able to share really what's inside of me. And I wanted my wedding photography to be something really different. I wanted it to be something that somebody really could hang on their wall for 50 years and look at it and say, tell their grandkids, that was me. Kora, Ethiopia is the worst place they've been on earth. When you walk into the dump, first off, it's an assault on your senses. The smell is unlike anything I've ever smelled. And to think that human beings exist in a place like that is something that it's incomprehensible. People from a community that live next to the dump, literally going to the dump to find food, to find recyclables, to find all of those things just so they can survive. Well, Out of the Ashes is an organization that helps to identify these children that are in the dump. They'll literally go into the dump and take these kids out. Now you're talking about 5, 6, 7-year-old kids who are working and living off of the dump. If my photography can in any way help 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, however many kids, that's why we do it. What I really want people to take away from this is you literally will change a person's life.
Now, if you want to donate to the cause, we've set up a link on our website. Just head to cbsdfw.com. Just stunning work for a great cause.
Great pictures.
And you know, that is exactly what you're talking about. The picture isn't just a picture, it's the emotion.
Right.
The emotion of the shots, what the eyes are telling you. And, you know, that says it all. You know, not much more you have to do there. And I can imagine what that dump is like, too.
It's it's tragic, and you know, I think that one thing I'm blessed on is that we've been able to travel all over the world, my team and I, and you go to some places that make you really appreciate what you have, and the fact if I feel incredibly fortunate that I'm in a place to where the work that I've done at weddings, the 300 plus weddings I've done in my career, all of the other work that I've done, that it's now led me to a place to where I can actually use my photography and my pull to help people, and I think that's something we don't do enough of. And I want to leave the world a little bit better than I found it, and I think the only way we do that is by giving more than we get.
Yep, agree. And there's nothing nicer than getting when you don't even expect it. So, and it somehow happens too.
You know, some of these people, you got to understand, some of these people will never have a picture of them taken.
Right.
And the fact that you can take their picture, you know, guys, the funnest thing is to take a picture of some of the folks that you meet on these trips, and you turn around and show them the camera. You got to understand, that's the first time they've seen themselves in a camera, or maybe ever. When you go to visit these places, it's not like they have nice mirrors hanging up in their house.
Right.
So when you show them these pictures, the emotion, I remember I just got my cell phone out one time and was taking pictures, doing selfies with one of the little girls there, and she couldn't get over seeing herself in my camera. And that's why I think photography is truly one of the most powerful tools we have on earth for good.
Now, you know, just thinking about what you've been saying also is, you know, the camera is a conduit. I would almost say the camera is a conduit for your soul. Mm-hmm. And the minute your ego gets into the picture, the picture's not the same anymore.
Right.
And I get the feeling when you're shooting. You're not really thinking about, oh, this is going to be a great shot. I can sell it. I can make money off it. You're shooting. You're in the moment.
It's funny you say that. One of the number one questions I get from people is, what do you do with all of your images? How do you monetize it? And if people only knew how little I actually monetize, I think they'd be shocked. I shoot because I love it. And I know for a fact there are ways I could make a lot more money, but those ways would require me to not shoot as much, and I have no desire for that. I want to be out shooting. I was meant to be a photographer. I've worked in the hotel industry. I've done all that type of stuff. So what I'm trying to tell you is money. I need enough money to support my family and to support the adventures that we want to do, but I will never choose that over being able to do what my calling in life is, and that is photography. And when I'm shooting, the only thing on my mind is how can I create something amazing.
That's great.
But it always seems to show through on your videos, Jason, that all of them, you just seem to really enjoy what you're doing. I enjoyed, you did one in a deserted prison, I think, for the roto light. And I just really enjoyed that.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
That was different.
Yeah, I get access to a lot of places because my fans will say, hey, I have access here, I have access there, and we may throw the place a couple bills and go and shoot. But I do love what I do. And when I first started doing videos, people would say, oh, he's over the top, it's an act, it's this, it's that. It's like, you guys, if you hung around me, you would see I am that way if I'm by myself or if a camera's on me. And to that end, I've invited photographers from all over the place to come and just watch me shoot and be around me for free. And not a lot of other photographers offer that, because I want people to understand what it is like to just shoot for the sheer joy of it, and how if you work hard you can create amazing results with a little piece of metal in your hands.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm curious, how many photographers take you up on that?
Oh, quite a few.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group, and we have people from all over the world wherever I go. It's what amazes me is I'll have people, no matter where I'm at in the world, there's someone who seems to know who I am, and they'll join me on my adventures, and I let them come along and assist, and the learning that they're able to do. You know what I try to do, guys, is I try to offer opportunities to people that no one offered to me, because I don't think we help each other enough in this industry. You know, some people charge, hey, spend a day with me, $5,000. I'm like, really? Spend a day with you? No one's going to learn that much with you in one day. It's not worth $5,000. And so I guess that was blunt, but you need people to be able to come and experience it and love it and figure out if it's for them.
Now, one of the key questions we wanted to ask you is, how did you enjoy the kisses from Q-Tip?
Well, you guys have really done your research. I'm going to give you that.
No, I was laughing when I saw the video on that. He was hilarious. I don't know if he was drunk or not, but he was enjoying you, I think.
Alan, that is Alan Toon, Mr. Q-Tip. He is definitely not drunk. And we have more videos coming out with him that are going to be even more shocking, because that is one dirty old grandpa.
He's funny.
He is hilarious. He is. If he was in the United States, he's over in England. If he was in the United States, he'd be part of my team, no doubt.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that looked like a fun. By the way, that did look like a fun outing you did with your crew and stuff. That's the part of the whole thing. Have fun while you're doing it. I mean, don't suffer through it, but have fun with it. So.
If you can't have fun, then just don't do it.
Yeah,
not every moment's going to be fun, but the summary of your experience should definitely be enjoyable.
Yeah, I know some photographers that it's like, oh my God, I got to go on a shoot. Wait a minute, you're a photographer. Don't you want to do this? No, I don't want to do this one. Then why are you taking the work? I mean, it's just sort of insane. But
I think sometimes too that speaks to people who do not branch out and do different things, and they get stuck in a rut, and they shoot a wedding at the same venue 30 times in a year. Yeah, that would probably get mind-numbing, and so you need to branch out and do different things. And when I started off in the industry, everyone said you only had to do one type of photography, and if you guys look at my portfolio, it's very diverse between wildlife, landscapes, urbex, models, weddings, kids. I've done a lot of different things, and it's because I didn't want to be pigeonholed as one type of photographer.
And it's also fun to see what comes out of that lens. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, just wait. We have a video coming out. I shot my brand new assistant, who is a model, and I stole her and made her my assistant. And we named it Sony Fangirl because I put a camera in her hand and we put a fedora on her head. And wait till you see the hate mail on that one, but it'll get lots of views. I'm telling you right now, it's an amazing video.
That sounds good. Well, anyway, we are just about at the end of our time. We'd love to have you come back on and talk a little bit more about... We didn't really get much into yourself today. We talked more just kind of in general. But love to find out more about, you, like you said, your dad, how you got into it. Because there's always a story there. There's always a story about how people got it. And you took it very seriously. A lot of people don't. And I'm finding, you probably find the same thing, people are more into the gear than the actual what the gear does. And I think that's part of it. I think I've had some of that problem, and Jeff has too. what do we call it? Gear acquisition syndrome, gas.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's one of those. It's one of those tough ones. Sometimes we buy too much gear and then go, "Why did I just buy this? That was stupid."
Yeah, I know what you mean. When someone has said to me, "Oh, Sony sucks," I just say, "Guys, forget about the name on the front of the camera. Look at the shots."
Yeah. Well, actually, that's true. I had a Sony RX10 Mark II, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, Mark II or Mark IV? I'm trying to remember. No, the
be a
smaller
Mark
one is
II.
the Mark IV. It was the Mark II. It shot beautifully. I actually gifted it to a friend of mine. At the moment, I didn't know what to do with it. I said, you know what? It's not what I need right now. I want something I can change lenses. And that was my first experiment into Sony. And I was thinking, well, do I want to continue? And Jeff is twisting my arm. Sony. And I think he may be right. And watching your comments on Sony, I love the feature set. Now, the only problem I had with like the Sony, I haven't seen the A7R2 or the A7S Mark II. I saw the initial models. At 6'2" and fairly big hands, I felt uncomfortable with holding them. Now they didn't have grips on either, so as a result, it just seemed tight. I bought an Olympus I took back because it was just way too small in my hands. Couldn't get my fingers into things. How do you find the ergonomics of the newer, the two versions of these cameras?
Oh, I definitely prefer the two versions over the original versions, hands down. It feels much more like a DSLR, whereas you have, for your thumb and your index finger, you can control your shutter and your aperture. It's very similar to when I shot Nikon, and so for that reason, and then they kind of did a hybrid between Nikon and Canon in that then they have the wheel in the back like Canon does, and that's how you adjust your ISO. So the grip is better. It's definitely more. It gives you a better grip. And if you do add the grip underneath, then I think it would for most people I think it would fulfill your needs.
Yep. And I was listening earlier. The A7R2 is probably a darn good choice. I like the low light idea, but I'm not always taking low light, the A7S2 looks nice. And I hear people go, but it's only 12 megapixels. You don't need that many megapixels for video.
Yeah, people don't understand. Like the D3 I shot on, the D700. I mean, those are 12 megapixels. I mean, the cameras that really built my career were 12 megapixel cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't need these huge megapixels. It's nice, but you don't need it. I have a Nikon D810, which I'm going to sell. I like it, but I don't see a need for it, at least for me. It was one of those I got, and I asked myself, now, why did I get that? I know why I got it. I asked Sammy. You go to Sammy's a lot, right?
I do. I'm actually friends with Sammy's. We do a good amount of work together.
They're good folks. I've been going there for about almost 20 years, and I go to Larry and Video in the L.A. store, and just good folks. They're really good folks. And half the time he goes, why do you want to buy this? I go, no, it looks good. Don't buy it. All right. So he'll talk me out of it. And sometimes he talks me into it.
The A7R2 is you can drop it into APS-C mode, and then you cut your effective pixels down to about 20 megapixels. So if you don't want to have a huge 42 megapixel shot, you can go down to 20. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. That sounds good. Well, Jason, we really appreciate you coming out. Any training you're doing soon that you'd like to advertise or tell people about?
Yeah, we're going to be in New York in the 13th and 14th for a portfolio building workshop. At my workshops, you can actually come and build your portfolio, meaning you can use the images for your business. Then we're going to New Jersey for a real wedding workshop where you actually get to attend a real wedding with me, and it's an Indian wedding, so that's going to be really cool.
Interesting.
You get to shoot a real wedding and use those images for your portfolio, and everybody is effectively my assistants. So we get it's a great idea, personally speaking. We've been doing those for about 3 years. Then we have a portfolio building workshop in Minneapolis. Then after that, in August, we're going to Niagara Falls, Vancouver. Then we're going to Detroit. We're going to be doing Photokina this year. We're going to be going to Germany, and just have November in Australia. We have a lot of cool things coming up. New York again, Photo Plus in October and all that. Lots of cool stuff coming up.
That sounds great. It's a rough life.
Don't sound like you have much time for home time.
I do because I'm down to about 5 weddings a year at this point. So when I'm not actually out teaching, I'm doing a ad job in Chicago in about 10 days. But I mean, between commercial work and teaching and weddings, I'm home half the month. And when I'm home, I'm just home. And that's the other benefit. If I'm home for 2 weeks, I am literally there for 14 days, not doing anything except playing with my kids and my wife. So that's what we do.
That's great. Well, Jason, again, appreciate you coming on. If you're watching this show on YouTube or Vimeo is where the recording goes, please subscribe. Give us your comments and feedback. We will put in the show notes Jason's information, website, and other things so that if you need to get a hold of him, you can get a hold of him through his website. Jason, again, appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I'd love to do it again.
No problem. Jeff,
Thanks.
We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.